We are back. Comedies and dramas use jewelry to highlight the characters. We use some very famous classics to illustrate how jewelry can be used in the narrative of life, love, and death. Before we go on, we would like to introduce ourselves. This is Christoph Ziegler.
And Lucia Richards.
We had the idea to organize a festival on video inspired by jewelry. This idea started because of COVID-19 and the restrictions in traveling and in being present in various fairs or exhibitions. But as we proceeded with the medium and working with video, we thought that it's a very interesting tool, especially for jewelry artists. We are here now to present a small selection of our program in July, the Schmuck On Reel festival that we organize in the framework of Schmuck 22 in July. And we are going to have some very interesting interviews and discussions, including Leo Caballero of Clean 22, Managing Director, who is here online to tell us also his opinion about the development in the jewelry world, influenced initially by COVID, maybe also now the war climate could play a role, and also his views on jewelry, video, other media. Christoph?
We should also mention that we are meeting now because of the postponement of Schmuck, which ends today. Basically, the first part, so to say, something we didn't expect after all, but it happened. And so we are meeting in the same medium we are talking about. It's very helpful, this tool, to communicate ideas, to communicate with other people in this moment. And so we are happy that we can meet you, instead meeting you live, but online now. Online,
yes. And we would like also to add that apart from the restrictions of COVID, the good thing about these 2 years of isolation and of not being able to travel due to lockdowns and other difficulties and the postponements of 2 Schmucks is that many artists thought that how can they promote the jewelry, how can they show the audience what they've done during this time, and video is a relatively cheap and interesting way to show one's work and also to introduce the public to the work and to your world, not just your work, but also the thoughts, the concepts, the inspiration sources behind your creation. So video can be seen as a substantial tool in enhancing the artist's narrative. And as we know from the art market, the narrative is a very important factor, what you have to say about your work, about your jewelry, about your ceramics, about your painting, about your performance, things that make the public understand who you are and what drives you to keep going. So this narrative is, in our opinion, enhanced by the culture of the moving image, which is prevailing in our world nowadays, also thanks to the social media. And we think that there's going to be more interest for this medium video, which is also not terribly difficult to produce. And here, maybe, Christoph, you should tell us a few things about the technical possibilities and the technical difficulties for somebody who has no idea, like myself, of how to use, to shoot, to cut a video. Is it so difficult?
No, it's not, as we see. I think it's also an issue of the generations using digital media. The young ones, they are only sharing their ideas and emotions and thoughts through video nowadays. We are still, let's say, our generation is more afflicted to the images. but we found out to overcome the technical issue of creating a film, a video, is so simple nowadays, using a smartphone or the social media as a basis. You can create a whole world around you, like Lucia said. And this is what we discover in the cooperation with the artists in the last 2 years, that there is so much to say besides your physical work, the work that's put into a form and a shape, and that has to be transported somewhere and exhibited somewhere for people to be seen. That the video is something more mobile, more transportable, so you can reach another public and you can communicate other ideas that come up in the process of your work, or that keep you busy, but you don't know how to put it into your artwork or your jewelry work. So what we've discovered in the last months and the last 2 years is a whole set of things where it can go. And this is why we are very happy that the festival still has some time now, with the postponement of Schmuck, that we can develop it, that we can invite more artists to take part. And it's going to be a bigger festival.
We would also like to stress that as we are both visual artists, we come from the background of visual art, not with a specialization on jewelry. We came to jewelry because we love the medium, we love to wear jewelry. So after we loved wearing jewelry, we started making jewelry. And we think that it's a discipline and a market which is still has the advantage, is not in quote unquote mature yet. So there is a lot of room for everybody to participate and to shape it with one's energy and ideas. It's not like a market of fine arts where you have some major players, and it's very, very tough to enter this scene and this market. So it is, in our opinion, more democratic and more open to fresh ideas, to new ideas. And it's also very nice that next to the masters, the contemporary jewelry masters, we all respect and revere, they're also very talented young people. And this is also obvious in the festival. We have a combination of very prestigious institutions and established artists presenting the work, and also students and young artists, emerging artists that offer us astonishing perspectives of, and sometimes very hilarious perspectives of, how jewelry can be used in the social context, to make statements, to make contact with other people. Before we proceed to the next trailer, which we think you find it very interesting for many reasons, we would also like to stress that we have identified at the beginning of the COVID pandemic, many exhibitions have been cancelled or postponed, and there have been some virtual presentations. But we thought that this virtual presentation just showing objects was not very fair to the objects, because objects can have a life and a character and a role of their own. And why we're going to show you, we don't have to analyze it with words. I think images are stronger. We're going to show you a trailer from a very famous movie by the Armenian director Sergei Parajanov, who lived and worked in Ukraine, in Kiev, in the 60s, 70s, till his death in the early 90s. He has not been favored by at the time, Soviet regime for various reasons. And his movies had not been shown, especially abroad. So when he managed, after the perestroika and glasnost of Gorbachev, to participate in international festivals, he won many awards. And it was like a huge discovery. And we think for every crafter and jewelry artist and designer, it's still a very big discovery to watch his movies, because it's not just the narrative, it's also the objects that support this narrative, and each object has a story and a history and a symbolism, carries a symbolism with it. So this movie is from the late 60s, I think 68 or 69, and 69 is called The Color of the Pomegranates, and is the story of an Armenian poet who lived in Middle Ages. The people who come from the Armenian and Georgian culture, or from the former Soviet republics, I'm sure they might be familiar with both Parajanov and the poet. And for the rest of us, we're not familiar with this circle of culture. However, it is enchanting and mesmerizing to watch how the story, the biography of this poet develops through shots on the life of his village, of the life of his parents, himself as a child, etc.
We should also mention that Sergei Parajanov has been imprisoned for his movies. He had to stay in working camps for 4 or 5 years. So his work wasn't really welcome in the Soviet regime because he was about tradition.
Let's say he stressed, he emphasized elements of the folk culture of various people of the former Soviet Union that was not compatible with the ideology, the Soviet ideology of at the time. So and there's more to say, but let's limit ourselves to the images. So we always use part of these movies in our workshops to illustrate the possibility to tell a story just by highlighting objects. But this is the prerequisite is, of course, to know the use of objects and their meaning and their symbolism. And let's say this could be a drive or a motivation working with video for jewelry artists to add more depth in their way of dealing with their own work, of questioning what does my work want to say, what is the background of my work, of myself.
And we already see it in the videos that we have by you, that you are concerned with the surroundings where your objects or where your story is embedded.
There is, let's say, also quote-unquote marketing trick in it. The artist whose goal is to approach the public, and the public which is not initiated in this form of art, and this is a minus in our discipline. It's a beautiful discipline in art jewelry, but not many people are familiar with it. If you make it simpler, if you approach them through images, or if you simplify without reducing the value of your concept, but try to speak in the language that your public understands outside the jewelry community, maybe then it is possible to extend the circle of new public, new customers, and more reviews as well from the press on our work. Things that are unfortunately still lacking to a big extent. Would you like to add something about technical issues
No.
or about the work of participants?
No, we will see.
Okay. We see
the works of the artists who sent us their videos. But first, we would like to welcome Leo once more.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining the meeting.
Thank you, Leo.
Also,
thank you for inviting.
Yes.
We want to mention that first, we have asked you to be a media partner for Schmuck On Reel, and you said yes. That's very nice.
Yes.
And it will support.
We think it's sorry.
Yeah. I think Leo does not need any introduction. He is Klimt02 is a very famous platform. I think it was the first platform, and I think it's a unique platform, combining quality and longevity and variety and theory and being a bridge of the continents, of the generations, of a history of jewelry and future of jewelry. So my question is, what is your magic filter? How do you make it, Leo? So many years, it's how many, 15 years, 16 years?
No, it will be 20 now, this year.
20 years, 20 years,
Bravo.
yes.
In the field,
It's
but we have been always open, of course, 20 years ago. You know how internet was, no Google, no Facebook, no nothing. And I think it started a bit like you are doing now with the idea of the videos. For us, the tool, it was the internet, because it's a way cheap and easy to get everywhere. And jewelry by that time was pretty lost, and now we are always open, and we already talked with new initiatives and new channels, new tools, no? And it's about how we use these tools. And I think we thought, it's not just me, but it's the team, this Schmuck On Reel and the videos and everything, considering also the COVID, not exactly just because of COVID, but it's a nice way also to for the artists to introduce what they do. No, at the end, everything is about if there is a consistency behind the work. No, but this at the end is the reader, the viewer, who will decide if there is consistency or not. But we think the initiative is super nice, and we are absolutely happy to support. Absolutely, we have been already working and collaborating before, and I think we are in the same page somehow.
Yeah.
So we are really happy.
Yes, we do. We do. Exactly, because I should add, I follow Klimt02, maybe not 20 years, 17, 16, so 16 years, and I'm always amazed. Yes. And I'm amazed that it is not standardized. It keeps developing. So there is the drive to become, to keep being avant-garde, to look forward, not only backwards on the past glory, but to discover new things, new topics, new motivation. And this is what we find it is very good, and we are also very happy to cooperate with.
Okay, thank you. But this is the way contemporary art in general develops, no? So you cannot keep stuck in the past. Of course, the past is important, but then it's coming the new generations. That's what it makes it contemporary. So we try to be there and listen. We are always open. To make it simple, because I know we have a tight time. To make it all brief, we are always open to new things.
Yeah. Leo, let me ask you, because you're right at the point where all the information comes in, and you control, so to say. You give it a shape and you set it out in the world. The last 2 years were a big shift in the way artists, jewelry artists, crafters present their works. What is your experience? What has changed the most in the last 2 years?
Basically, the idea for us, I think it's it's kind of a mad thing of doing exhibitions on site, but this is not a major thing actually, and there are a lot of exhibitions. So in times like that in these past years, people had to figure out how I show my work. For us, it was not really a big thing because we have been always trusting in the internet and in the spreading. Sometimes you don't have to be inside or on site to see the things. It's always interesting to see the things in first hand directly, but transmitting information and you know, because you do the magazine, for example, editing and everything and spreading what you want to spread with the magazine and the workshops and everything. Sometimes maybe it's not that important to be inside sometimes. And I say it before, if there is consistency in the messages, then this is what is important to transmit. And then at the end, it will show up in something. Whenever it's possible. Not with the COVID, okay, but maybe later on. But when there is content and is something interesting to say, this must be somehow stored in database and then keep them there for the future too. No?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I would also like to ask you a last question. We are also very fond of your initiative to assist independent artists to promote and sell their jewelry. We think that the jewels on sale by 02 is a great initiative, and it can also be developed. What is the reaction of the artists? How do they embrace? Are they willing? I will tell you why I'm asking. Many artists expect a gallery or a dealer to do this kind of work for them, which is a difficult work. And this is why galleries and dealers ask their percentage, because there is a lot of communication, a lot of explanation, a lot of promotion. It's a challenge for independent artists to promote the work themselves. What is your impression of how they react to this offer?
Yeah.
Are they, yeah.
No, please.
No, please. What are the reactions?
Okay, I will try also to compress it. But
yes.
This initiative came actually because of the COVID thing, because we knew no openings, no shows, not possible to visit galleries. We thought we have to help somehow, or to show that there is still things going on, because people was still creating galleries, they were still there. Our idea was to, okay, let's try to push a bit that there is a market, there is people doing things, let's open to buy and whatever. It was a kind of a testing that was quite good, interesting, and we are working more on this to open. Of course, there is this idea of because we already talked about the market, we are really interested. We have to build up a market, because at the end, an artist needs to sell the work. Showing it is nice, but selling it is better because you can do more work. So the idea for us is to push more in this direction and even open it up to individual artists when they are not represented by a gallery, or when some works, because you don't actually now galleries, and we know because we have one, you don't represent the entire work of an artist. You represent some works. This is the way we work for a long time now. So, well, maybe, and the idea is to be fair and to create a structure that is a win-win for everyone. Because the idea is not just to work individually, but to work maybe individually, but in the same direction. because at the end, what we realize is that the clients or the people who should buy, or they must know why they are buying and why this is the cost or not, or who I trust to or not. And this is what we would like to give to this potential client, that, okay, we support this, so at least I put my hand on the fire for these things. Let's say it's super rude or something, no? And this is the idea, to open, because if there is no market,
exactly.
Yeah.
let's say we just stay in shows. So I would say to the artists, don't be desperate to exhibit, because exhibiting is not that difficult. somehow in my experience, and it's not that important. What we have to show is something that it's really has a consistency, that someone that it's coming up abroad, and I tell this because the questions you sent to me before, says, okay, I'm buying something because it's worth enough, and now I know why. There are text on the background, there are museums background, there are galleries in the background, and so on. There are magazines in the background, there are initiatives like Schmuck On Reel in the background, and then I know it's not a bluff or a bubble, it's something in there with value, no? And I think we all, the artists and we all, have to trust that and make it worth. Sorry, maybe too long, maybe.
You put it in a very, very direct and very nice wording, and I think you should also write an article on it. For Schmuck magazine, because
we will, because we will have 20 years
yes,
now, and we will make a kind of self-interview. We will not interview ourselves. And then we will talk about these experiences and what we think about market and these things, which is many of the things we have been also in the email sometimes talking a bit. So in these things, we think someone has to also kind of break in some topics, rules, old rules that we don't really trust, and show, hey, what's going on? No? Let's start and say things
yes,
by the name, no?
Yes.
More or less. It will come.
you put it in a very diplomatic way, and but very direct. So it is a very nice balance.
That's what it's about, yeah, yes, basically. Yes.
This is because I'm very shy.
It's great. Thank you very much, Leo, for your insight and for your advice. And I think your words will think about your words. They sit with us, and they, well, give us food for thought.
Yeah, and I wanted to say, if I can, about your the project. In regarding the artists submitting and applying, and they should apply, and they should try and take part in your initiative, the Schmuck On Reel, because it's a different thing, and it's a way when and where I think personally an artist can confront their own work and be critical with their own work, and be able to present in a way that attracts and says something to someone who knows nothing, because we are very used to work in a circle of people that we already know things, and I can understand, and I have a lot of background, you too, whatever. But we must think in a more widest thing. And I actually encourage them to apply, if it's possible still to apply. And take part and be very critical with their own work, and be courage, and just go, go and be open to the feedback with the public, no matter critics or something. You must be your own most highest critic.
Yes.
Right.
First, the art part of the jewelry art is exactly this: trying to break rules, trying to overcome borders for yourself and for others, for the people you want to take with you. And this is the challenge. And I think in any art medium, like in jewelry art, this is something personal. You have to work on this personal idea of who you want to speak to and how do you want to make it. And the second thing is, are we looking forward for a video from Klimt for Schmuck?
What do you mean? Video.
We would like to invite you to send a video for the festival. Anything you like.
Okay. We talk on the email. You tell me a bit more,
Yes.
and we think a bit about what we could do, because it's you know. But thank you very much, for the invitation, and super nice to meet you. I saw your pictures many times. I think, and we never met personally, probably.
No, we lost each other in 2016. You came to our show, but we've been blocked by a snowstorm. And
probably.
Delay. So you've been waiting for us. We had arranged the meeting, but in Munich, in the
yes, I remember. But we will meet for sure in person. I would really love and have a wine with you and talk more. And our collaboration and on the email and everything has been always very nice for us. We are really happy, and we are always open with you both, because you are doing really. And it's not like soap, but you do really something different, and we think different and interesting. Of course, it's not about making something different, and we think different voices are very important always.
Okay.
I make it diplomatic again. We will talk about it.
Too many compliments are making us red.
No, don't be red. It's fine.
Thank you very much. And before we proceed to a trip report, a very interesting trip report by Jason Stein, who's been in Munich. He's a participant of our group show Metamorphosis at
I know.
But also our eyes and ears, and our reporter, Jason, you've also published his amazing article a few months ago.
Yes.
Is a very, I would say, a multi-talented artist and writer.
I know.
And he has made a fantastic report for Schmuck, for what he saw and what he valued and what he thought that it is worth sharing in March. He was in Munich, Jason, 2 weeks ago, I think. Was it? Yes, 2 weeks ago. But before we welcome Jason Stein and we ask him about his experience, let's say a big thank you to partners and sponsors who support our initiative. There are more, but we limit ourselves now to Klimt 02 to Open Real Estate, which is a real estate and agency. Well, we live right now in a region in Arcadia, which is very unique also in terms of architecture. The buildings are 200 years old, like our house. And this is real estate, we would call it, specializing in works of architectural art in the region. All houses and plots that are offered or are brokered are really, they have character, they have history, and the Bureau also undertakes the renovation following the traditional way of renovating and of building. So we thank them for their kind support, and we would also like to thank a subsidiary of our Favelab is a different organization. It is about residencies in Greece and about work in Greece. We have stopped it for the last 2 years because it was not possible really to foresee what would happen with the restrictions. We had a lot of workshops online on Greek culture and Greek art, and we plan to start again in the coming months. We're going to have an open call for artists in residence that would be interesting to come to Greece, go through an initiation workshop online, and then stay in Greece on their own, create something and combine it with a show, not in Greece, probably in Germany and online. So this is, we're working on this concept, how we can also build bridges between the jewelry community, country whose culture, the culture of which has influenced the world culture a lot, like Greece, and the center of jewelry art and design in Europe, one of the centers, Munich. So let's go to Jason.
Mm-hmm.
Jason, how are you feeling after the jet lag is over and the impressions of Munich? We are going to show your works at the same time? No? Christoph? No?
No, it was planned that we show a little
okay.
bit of the reason why Jason went to Munich, and I think 5 of the participants of our show that's running now in Munich at the Bayerische Kunstgewerbeverein was the exhibition Metamorphosis, a combination of physical works and video. So this is why we also mention it. Maybe we start showing you some images of this show that's running from 25 February until 2 April.
Yes, and we should also say that this year Schmuck has been divided into 2 parts. The merged part is more, let's say, institutional. Next to the Bayerische Kunstgewerbeverein, there is also the Kunstpavilion. I think the Akademie der Künste, what is more, the Galeriehandwerk, about 12, 13 addresses in Munich that show exhibitions planned long in advance. This exhibition had been planned already in 2019, and it's about the ideology, culture, mythology behind recycling.
Let's see.
Some shots.
Well, 20 artists all together from all over the world, whom we met 8 months before the show for online workshops. We had a lot of meetings, intensive work on the physical work as well as on the films, on the development of the concepts of the videos. What came out is a show that's in a place that exists for 170 years.
71.
171 years, one of the oldest establishments for arts and crafts in Munich. And they have 8 shows every year, and one of the shows is traditionally held during the Schmuck week.
We should also say that the show is supported also by the Ministry of Economy of Bavaria, which shows also the interest of the administration and of the local politics for crafts and for arts in general. And we should also keep this information in mind, how we can interest state agents for art jewelry to support more what our work is. So let's go to
we
Jason.
See, yes, Jason Stein in the exhibition, and we will give him the word now and the images, his impressions from Munich. Let's see. Yes. Okay, let's maybe ask Jason, how was your impression of the city of Munich?
First off, thank you for having me. Thank you for allowing me to participate in this way. Happy to do it. Munich was a fantastic city. I'm not telling anybody anything they don't know who has been there. but for me, it was a fantastic trip. It came at the right time with COVID and studio work and just everything happening in the world. It was nice to just be transported to kind of just a different reality, a different world, and just soak as much of that in as I could while I was there. So I think I probably went to more museums in that 9 days than I have in probably the previous 7 or 8 years of my life. So it was a lot, and I'm still processing it. But it was really rewarding.
We could follow you on Facebook every day. You posted images and your journal. You wrote about your experiences that were quite funny sometimes, and some really different views. And we will host your journal in the Schmuck magazine, which is coming up now, to give other people who weren't in Munich or who didn't have the chance, of course, to go now, who will maybe go in July, to experience the city from different angles. Well, one more question about the culinaric or the food thing. What would you recommend? Where should people go firsthand?
I mean, you can't go wrong. Everything was just a little nicer. That was my general impression, which should come as no surprise to anyone who's based in Europe or anywhere. But it just, from the cheap free food to the coffee to the leather shoes everybody was wearing, just I appreciated, at least, I don't know if this is German specific or specifically in Munich. I think it might be a Munich thing of just people more care of everything. So go anywhere, it's fine.
Yeah. It is, well, Munich is the richest city in the Federal Republic of Germany, along with Hamburg. Only there is a very big difference in the culture and the background, and this is attributed to the religious background. Hamburg is a Protestant city, so the values are more to accumulate and not so much show off, while Munich is a Catholic city with a different art tradition and a different attitude to life, to the joy of life. It's a different emphasis in Catholic Germany compared to Protestant Germany. You have to live there to feel the difference. There is a small difference. And we also enjoy very much this joy of life that is expressed in the coffee shops, in the sausage imbiss, Stube, in museums, a lot of museums, even tiny museums, and of course the luxury you see in the shops and in the general culture. Very, very well educated public, very people who know a lot of things and appreciate a lot of things. So
I would like to ask Martina.
Thank you, Jason,
Thanks, Jason. Martina and also Serjan Bajerov. I would like to welcome you. Serjan, yes. It's nice that you joined the meeting through Martina, who introduced you to us, not physically now, but she wrote about you and your work. So we love that you join in and get a taste of the festival, and we hope you will also join the festival through some work of you, a video that you can send to us that we'll show in Munich. First, I would like to ask Martina, did you physically go to Munich to see the exhibition? Because you sent me an email that you said the show is nice. Have you been in Munich now?
No, I only saw the video.
Okay.
Okay.
And I saw the whole information about it, and I was very impressed also about the whole procedure and background which was invested into it. And of course, it's fantastically aesthetic, and the works are exceptional.
We should also mention that we met Martina. Martina is a participant of Schmuck On Reel. She's a jewelry artist herself, but you are also a gallerist in Berlin. La Remise is your gallery. You run it for many years, very long time. So you've seen a lot of things, probably ups and downs, changes.
Sure.
What is your insight about what's coming next? We live in a very, very dangerous world, and many sad things happen right now. For example, the war is something that is really very depressing, and we pray for peace and for a good solution between the two countries. But it's something that influences also even countries and people who are not involved directly, psychologically, emotionally. What is your feeling about your work as a dealer, as an art dealer, as a gallerist, in this respect? How do you see the public reacting to shows of art jewelry?
Well, I think it's a bit dependent from what kind of gallery you have and where you are situated. If you are in a very busy area, I think in the last month business has taken up, and people have also been interested in seeing and buying jewelry, but not to an extent we hoped after these 2 years. What I hear also from my colleagues in Berlin. Me personally, as my gallery is I would say the best hidden place in Berlin. You have seen it, you were there. I am dependent on really make invitations, events, and so on. And this has become extremely difficult the last 2 years. So the last really very successful show was with Samto Duong and Susanne Elstner, but this is already nearly 2 years ago. And with the beginning of the lockdown in Berlin, it was like as people dropped that moment going out. And of course, now Berlin is coming back to life. People go to pubs and clubs and so on. But I have not seen so many visitors here in the gallery, I must say. And I'm trying to revive the gallery by another way of presentation. I already worked with writers who presented their books and bring musicians. And around this, I have the show. So this is what I plan, but for summer, when everybody is a bit more relaxed. At the moment, there is a big tension because of the war. Too many refugees, or so many refugees, are coming into Berlin, and the Berliners are very welcoming and very helpful, but they would not think about jewelry at the moment. This is my expression, my impression, what I got. But this is very new now, and we shall see what will develop. It's difficult to say how things will develop. So I take it a bit slowly with the gallery at the moment.
Yes. Martina, you decided to take part in Schmuck On Reel with a video, or actually you sent us 2 videos, and you've been traveling. We met and we talked, and it was very interesting to see how you over the years have developed and practice an interest in Africa, and you've been traveling, as I understood, all over the world. So you have us
quite
many places at least, and you have developed an interest in ethnical jewelry, and we would like to start with a part of your video, which explains a little bit of how you work. So we have to stop at this point.
Yeah.
So to say for the others, we have a short sequence of the video. Of course, we would have to see the whole videos, but it's a matter of time. Anyway, we could see what it is about. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about this work, which is a cooperation.
Yes. Well, the work is a cooperation between me with my jewelry objects and a dancer and choreographer and director from Brazil, which I met 2 years ago. That was just at the beginning of the COVID problematic, and she came to my studio and she saw these objects and she got immediately inspired by what they were, and she understood the kind of essence of the works, which are on the one hand very much orientated on nature, on the other hand on kind of ethnic background, whereas jewelry is something which is in action, which is alive, which is a social message, and which is not only an object sitting in an exhibition, but much more than that. And then she suggested to me that she would love to work with a certain dancer who was Maya Josef. She was a student of hers at the University of Arts in Berlin, where she teaches. And Maya accepted to do this work. And so we were lucky that Christina could conduct the whole thing, the whole dance and expression. And we had an excellent filmer, a professional filmer, Uwe Steckan, who accepted to do the filming. And it was inside my studio. Everything was white, and the white background symbolized that the space should be open and your imagination should be open to everything you want to associate with. And this is something which is important for the two of us to give an inspiration to the public, but then leave it to the public how to understand it, how to interpret it, how to feel about it. And that's the background of this video.
Yes, we like it a lot. It's, let's so to say, a professional production in the appearance, but it allows, as you said, to imagine a lot around the story that's been told through the movements and the objects. Of course, we will see all the videos live or online in July. Thank you, Martina.
Thank you very much.
We hope to meet you anyway. And
in July, at least.
in July.
Yes, I will come to Munich.
Or we come to Berlin, maybe.
Yes, please do so.
We haven't been there for 2 years, I think. So let's go to the next artist, is from Belgium, and what struck me in her video is that the simplicity of the video to deal with a very very important issue of therapy, and the ability to say so many things with so few additional elements, so few decorative elements. And maybe we should take a look at the video first and then ask Atika Shalik, I see she's there, to tell us about, I think it's a double career. You are both an artist and a therapist.
I've been a therapist. I feel like an artist right now.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, let's have a look at the video. Oops. No. I got the screen, multiple screen issue. Here we go.
Please tell what your video is about. So it is really interesting to watch, but maybe people, if they haven't read the concept, they don't understand what exactly it is.
Thank you for the introduction, because I take it as a big compliment. I'm working on an ongoing research, in fact, about how jewelryness can help to heal trauma and release stress, because I discovered something, a lot of theory about trauma by movements and positions, how you can send signals to the brain and to the body. That, for example, the position I'm doing, which is called the whole brain position, you connect both limbs. You can connect. You can cross both legs as well. And it's very funny because I always get nervous when I have to talk, but well, it's to release stress at least. So when crossing limbs, the hemispheres in the brain connect as well, and so they send signals to reduce stress, and it's a very helpful connection to release trauma, and that's all very. I mean, it's real, and so I've been looking for all positions and connections. So in this one, it felt like a depiction of unraveling trauma. The video is called Unraveling Trauma, and by trying to unravel this huge knot, it was like a trauma. Yeah, how can I explain it?
Let's have a look at this image that you sent us. Maybe it helps you to.
Of course, yeah. So this is I've made all different videos of all the different positions, and they all start with the same front. This is a little booklet, and it's a flip book. So the video is complete in the booklet, and this one is to do like this. It's the brooch I'm wearing here, and it's shaped in the form of the hand, so you can put the hand on it, and it reminds you when you feel it, when you see it in a mirror. It reminds you of doing some position or some movement, and if you do it sometimes a day, it helps. It's very efficient to get less stress and less trauma.
Mm-hmm.
I find it a very nice idea to have this pocket video, so to say. You can do it the old way.
Yes.
I made flip books when I was a pupil, I had a lot of fun with it. And this is, so to say, turning the idea of the video around into something more physical.
Yeah, but that was a thing, you know, jewelry people want to touch something, and I've made a series of a lot of videos. So people had a lot of difficulties, but yeah, but what can I touch then? And in a later moment, I've started making jewelry, but I first had to experience all the positions and the movements, and so then I first made the connections with like unraveling the chain. But then in the end, I only made the jewelry itself. So first there were the booklets, and that was already something touchable. So it's the manual of the jewelry.
This is
Great.
very, very nice. Thank you, Tike, and we're looking forward to July to see watch the whole video. Let's go to Carolina Melo from Brazil. Carolina is a master's degree student. We've been working together in per Zoom during the winter, and Carolina, with her work, also addressed the stress of the COVID era. So I think it's very important that also Tike addresses the issue of the pressure, of the stress, of the uneasiness. It's an issue that I think many artists are trying to cope with. Carolina, would you like to tell us a little bit about your work, about this work? What is the title of the work?
Art.
It's hello everybody. Hi. Thank you. Nice to meet you all. And the title of this piece especially is Isolated Heart, and the inspiration came really from the collection is from these feelings that I went through during the pandemic, and the one that it was most appearing was the feeling of loneliness and the apathy of not seeing our relatives, our friends, and everybody. So it was like a disconnection with our feelings, and as we use our heart as a symbol of feeling, and that was the idea of the disconnection, the moving parts of the body.
Let's take a look at your video, which, if I'm not wrong, let's take a look and we discuss it. Okay.
We met you in December.
I think, yes.
Yeah, December.
And we talked about your idea of the video and the concept, and what you sent us in the end was really surprising, and for us also very honest, that you express your true feelings about the isolation, and not something that you pretend to be happy or productive or whatever, but something what I think we all had from time to time. Maybe in extremes, and something we didn't find a way how to express it through another way. And it's great that you have made it this way as a document of something that has happened and is still present, but hopefully it's going to be in the past. The feeling of claustrophobia and this, so, and creativity, we showed the last part of the video. Creativity can help you to overcome this feeling, and this is most important.
Yeah, that was the idea. Try to as I was.
Let's wait a minute. Okay.
Well,
Carolina, we see a frozen image.
yes.
Let's see if, no. Okay. Then we.
Oh, you're back? You're back.
Okay, Carolina, we had a.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
No problem.
frozen image. We thank you. And of course,
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Thank you.
See the whole video in July, online and in Munich. Jen Aden. Yes.
Hi, everyone.
Yes.
Hi. Can you
Hi.
hear me?
Yes. Hi. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Let's see. We also prepared a sequence of your video. Now it's getting confusing. 25 open screens. Here we go. That's, I find it beautiful.
And the piece of jewelry.
The piece of jewelry, yes.
Because it's amazing the way it is done. Maybe tell us a few things about the technical aspect of it.
The technical aspect of the jewelry.
Yes, please. Yes.
Okay, so I'm a student. I'm a senior in Schmuck College of Design, Art, and Engineer, and we had one course that we had a collaboration with Schmuck, and we had to make a jewelry piece with at least 5 gems. And I really don't like soldering, so I thought about a way to make a very big piece layout to set the stones together. And this is how I made it. It's all made of one big piece of brass, besides the pin that is steel that I attached in the end. And as you can see in the video, it's a method that I use a lot because I find it very difficult to imagine how things look in my head. So I use paper first to figure out the shape, and then I transformed the paper to metal. So yeah.
You are the first of the students of the Schenker College.
Yeah.
And wait a minute. I hope we don't have an echo. We have a couple of participants from your class.
Right.
It seems, I don't know the number, but at least 7 or 8. Is it that you had a video class in this semester?
Yes, yes.
So we were
So,
lucky. We were lucky that we met you just in this moment when we had submissions coming in one after the other from the same college.
yes.
Maybe you should mention your college is located in Israel.
In Israel, yeah, it's called Schmuck College of Art, Engineering, and Design.
So you design also other objects, not just jewelry.
Yes, mostly jewelry, but also we design the eyewear, chest, and many more. Anything that has to do with the body. Yes.
What about the video? Is it something new, or what was the reason? Do you know that video is coming up also in the studies?
Yeah. Okay. So in the 4th year of, which is the final year of our studies, we used to have a display course that basically all of the works that you've done in the 4 years that you were a student, you display them in a big window, in a window display. And due to COVID, we couldn't continue because nobody would see the display because everyone was at home. So they changed the course to short videos of jewelry or how you work, and then that's how the course is now, because we understood that it can reach more people, and nowadays it's more relevant to use that medium instead of an actual display that only limited amount of people can see. So that's why you get a lot of people from our department now.
I see. We see. Yes.
So thank you very much,
Thank
Jen.
you for
Thank
joining
you.
us. Maybe.
Let's
Let's have
one more
okay.
participant,
Okay.
which I have on my list, who is Simon Marcus Ware from New Zealand. I see a black screen, but hopefully it will.
It's very late in New Zealand.
It's dark. It looks.
Yes.
Yes.
Hello.
Simon.
Hi, Simon.
Hi. How are you?
Thank you.
Nice.
Lovely to be here.
For being here. We suppose it's early in the morning. Yes.
Yeah, it's about now. It's about 4:30 in the morning.
Oh.
Okay. Thank you for this sleep sacrifice.
That's great.
It's
Yes.
fantastic to be here.
Okay, let's go back to the night, because this is the title of your video work. We're going to show a sequence of it.
If I'm not wrong, is it called, the title is La Notte of your video?
Are we?
Can you?
Simon, can you hear us?
Yep, I can hear you now.
What is the title of your video?
So it's called La Notte. It's the night. Partly it was inspired by the Antonioni film The Night.
This is what I wanted to ask you, because also the music, I think it is taken from La Notte, or not, or it's.
No, it wasn't. That just happened to be music I had when I first shot it in my car when I was driving home one night. That was the music that was playing in my car.
Let's say it is in the same style, or it reminded very strongly the title and the music Antonioni is
Yeah.
one of my favorite filmmakers. I love him.
Yeah.
I don't
Me too.
share his philosophy, but I love his movies. He is so humanocentric and so goes so deep in the connection or the non-connection between people. Would you like to tell us a few things why you've been inspired by, especially this La Notte is a love story, a love that fails, isn't it?
Yes, it is. So it's a little bleak, but I mean, it was partly inspired by the COVID experience and kind of being disconnected from people. And so it was kind of drawing upon that disconnection that we're kind of in this moment of trying to reach people, and yet we're having to do it by distance maybe, and struggling to find those connections, and just the idea that, you know, perhaps we're kind of on this journey through a night that seems a little never ending. And that was kind of what really drove it, was this idea of waiting really, and a constant night that seems a little unrelenting. So it was about people and that disconnection that we're kind of feeling in this moment as well.
Indeed, in the history of cinema, Antonioni is the master of alienation. He shows with a very strong and almost rude, like a vivisection of the hearts of people who get alienated, who get apart. He shows beyond the surface how people who are apparently connected, they grow slowly apart and go through this night or through this fog. I was also wondering about, I like very much this double screen, the driving through the night, and these symbols that appear on the right screen. This is your jewelry. What do they mean in this context?
I started with the video and actually then made the series of jewelry, these 12 small pendants. And I just wanted to work with something very pure and very simple first. So they're all based on circles or triangles or squares, and then just trying to bring a series together that kind of spoke of this moment, and they came very quickly. And you see here something that's kind of reminiscent of the COVID virus, and then other ones are representative of things like windows and something more domestic and of being locked down and in isolation. So there's little houses and similar symbols, and then others that are just more hopeful, hearts, some kind of religious symbols, which are not really meant to be religious particularly, but just to kind of convey a sense of hope. So it was trying to find almost little talismans that can get us through this moment.
And this is actually one of the most archaic uses of jewelry, is to give hope or to protect from evil, is to give hope or to sustain faith through the symbols, and also, as you name it, talisman, to protect from evil or to bring good fortune. I think it's a beautiful, very beautiful, very, very, very deep emotional work, and well, I'm very happy to share it with us.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure.
And I can't believe I can't believe the incident that the music.
It is, maybe it's not the same, but it's similar. It's in this
very similar.
Very similar.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. That's Bach's Goldenberg variation.
Yes. The Bachs, yes. Yes.
Thank you. We're happy about your participation, and we'll stay in touch anyway.
Yeah, I hope so. Yes, please. Thank you.
Right, let's continue with more Carolina Berger. Is she here?
She was here.
She's here.
Yes.
Hi, more.
Hi.
And let's start with one of the two images you sent to us. These are rings.
Yes, that's right. It's a series of rings and earrings that I've made that came from two words, gathered in and exposed. And should I tell about it?
Yes, of course.
Yes.
Well, as human beings, each and every one of us has his own personal world. The act of exposing our personal world to other people is difficult and brave, and that is why not everybody chooses to do that. So my thought was that we have a choice. If we want to reveal the parts of ourselves, even though doing that has the potential to hurt us, is it better to hide? And the jewelry actually showed in a tangible way the perception of things that we want to reveal and the things that we would rather to keep hidden. You can spin the ring and play with it, and the person who wears it performs the physical act of exposing and hiding the stones that are in it. That was the concept.
Wow,
That's
good.
very interesting.
We will also see and feel your video, because it's very physical in a sense, with taste and shapes of light. Let's go there.
Yes.
Here we go. So, of course, we would like to stay there in the bathtub
And relax.
and relax.
Yes, it's very inviting to relax. You come from the same background, the same college with Jenna. Are you colleagues? So you followed also this video class?
Yes, I'm also a student in Shankar. And this was a part of the class that we made. And I'm really happy we had the chance to do something like that, because it's a new world and it's important that we know how to fit ourselves also there.
Did you shoot the video yourself, or you had an experienced cameraman? You did it yourself?
We had no experience, and actually we only had a month and a half to think about the concept and to film and to present and everything. So it was very tight, but we had help, and I got a photographer to film the video. So I didn't do it myself because I have no experience in filming videos. But it taught us how to make collaborations and how to speak to people from the outside, that it's things that we might have to do in the future.
I would like to ask you one more question. So you wrote a script of your story. You developed your story. You wrote the script, and you looked for the location and for the models, or for also the perspectives, how to shoot it.
Yeah, like we had to tell the photographer exactly what we want, from what angle, what shot we had to draw, like the scenery, what we want to happen. And so we have to be very specific about that, and then we do it.
Amazing work, because it's a combination of knowledge as a script writer and as a location seeker and costume designer or stage designer and director. So it is.
Yeah, it's all us, definitely.
Congratulations!
Yes.
Congratulations! We're very impressed by your college and by your class. Really, because we received many applications and we've been wondering.
Yes.
It's amazing.
I'm happy to hear. Thank
Yes,
you.
we did. They came in the last minute of the deadline, one
Yeah.
after the other, and we wondered how is that
Yeah.
possible. And then we found out that in the curriculum of the video, we saw the names of your colleagues that also applied, who also applied in your video as well. So we see that you've been all working together.
Yeah, we helped each other very much.
And this is a great experience also in the difference of the approaches and what came out of your ideas and concepts.
Maybe you should repeat the name of the college and the city it is located.
It's a Shankar Design and Arts College in Israel.
Where is the city?
It's in Israel.
In which city of Israel?
In Ramat Gan.
Okay.
It's right next to Tel Aviv, very close.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
So,
More, let's have a short advertisement break.
Yes. So it's about the next issue that will come out in a few days of Schmuck magazine. Unfortunately, the artist whose work we present is not with us
Had a
right
bad
now.
internet connection
Very
today.
bad, from South Africa, Constance Marie Pretorius. Jewelry as decoration of courage, not military decoration, but decoration for courage and love.
Yeah, we had planned that the Schmuck On Reel would also be part of this magazine, of this issue. And since we have the postponement of Schmuck, we have also postponed the presentation of the participants, to July. So this will be about Munich and about the Metamorphosis exhibition and some issues that have to do with the Schmuck
With the
in
March.
and other things that are part of this magazine, which will come out at the end of March, maybe early April. We are a bit lacking time.
Yes. So
Um,
let's go to the next participant. We are very happy you are all here with us, and for your interest in this presentation and the great works and the great feedback. We're very thankful, and we feel your support and your eagerness for something which is completely new, and this is very, very, very nice for us. Very incredible. So let's go to the next.
let's see if Jenny Lee is
I think she
with
was
us.
there.
She was there.
Maybe she's here.
Here.
Yes.
Okay.
Hi, Jenny
Hi.
Lee. Yes.
Hi.
Hi. Very interesting. We have a lot of questions about your work and about the Pureon Culture Foundation.
The exhibition, Yoliji to Becoming One, presents contemporary jewelry representing the union of contrasting components such as man versus woman, tradition versus the contemporary, and ceremonies like weddings versus daily life. The exhibition introduces the reinterpreted traditional dorige, female clothing ornament, and karakje, ring, and explores how contemporary jewelry can pervade daily lives and be more approachable. Moreover, the exhibition intends to portray harmony and balance amid the current society where conflicts and hostility are prevalent. The exhibition holds the hope of seeing an understanding society that embraces the differences, just like with Yoliji, in which two trees merge into one while maintaining different roots.
Let me say something. I think this point of beauty and harmony amid a world of conflict and war is very soothing at the moment. It is about Korean jewelry, contemporary jewelry. deriving from tradition, and maybe you can tell us a few things about it, about this particular exhibition, and about the foundation behind all this endeavor to promote contemporary Korean jewelry to the world.
Yeah, so to briefly just introduce, so far we've seen videos of individual artists, but I'm actually the director of SMCK Gallery, and I participated in this exhibition as a curator, and I am the representative of this foundation called Prune Culture Foundation in South Korea. So this foundation is created in order to support artists in the crafts field, but more specifically in art jewelry. So the chairwoman, she's been the collector of art jewelry. One of her best friends was the first generation, 1.5, but one of the first generation jewelry artists in Korea. So she was really interested in collecting, and then also started a foundation to really support and make people know more about art jewelry. And I myself also studied in RISD in art, jewelry and metalsmith. So I was always interested in the jewelry field. So it was a great honor for me to participate in this exhibition and work as a curator. And yes.
Jenny, you have sent us 2 videos. We showed the second, the most recent show that took place in Seoul, in Korea. Am I right?
Yes, correct.
And you sent us another exhibition, and I find it the way it is presented as a documentation and a presentation of a show, if you can't go there, is very nice, giving background, giving a philosophy of what people are expected to see in the exhibition.
Yeah, exactly.
We like it a lot that that you participate in this way. And we hope to meet you anyway. You were supposed to go to Munich in March and take part in the fair.
I will be coming in July.
You're going to come in July. So maybe we meet in person. That would be very nice.
Let me ask another question, because it's part of the problematic of the foundation or of the goals. Promote contemporary Korean jewelry. We all admire the art of your country, the design. There is a long tradition also in dresses, beautifully made, and the ornaments. And what about contemporary jewelry? We all of us have experience with having watched incredible works by contemporary Korean artists. However, the foundation wants to do more about them, promote them, strengthen also the cultural identity of Korea abroad. This is a very big endeavor, a very big project. What are your next plans about it?
So far, actually, in the beginning, when the foundation was founded and when the foundation started to hold exhibitions and support artists, it was really only focused in Korea to really just let Koreans know more about art jewelry. But since last year, which was the first video that we submitted, the foundation really decided to sort of be more noticeable in the international fields too, and that's actually one of the reasons why we started taking videos to show to present it to a bigger audience, and for example submit to Klimt and open a Facebook page and open Instagram so that more people around the world can see and be interested. And the theme of the exhibition is planned like almost a year before. So with the theme of sort of going more abroad, and especially with the most recent one, how the Korean contemporary jewelry can also be transformed, or how traditional jewelries can be transformed into contemporary jewelry. With that concept, I think we're trying to approach to a bigger audience in terms of worldwide.
I just show these two images. The place is also extremely interesting. Take a look. It's a combination. How's the name of the architect?
Well, this is not of a specific architect, but it's remade of a traditional Korean house.
Okay, but the architecture where this exhibition took place or takes place is amazing. It's a combination of tradition and contemporary modern art. Well, so
these are ornaments that usually belong to the traditional Korean dress, as far as understood, and they've been transformed or reworked for the contemporary taste and interpretation.
Exactly.
Yes, it's beautiful. Yes, beautiful. How is the reaction of the international public to your efforts to promote Korean jewelry?
So far this is part of one of our first actions that we took to show into a bigger public, and then I guess also we'll actually take part of the works that you saw just now also to Munich to the fair, so that the international visitors who come to the fair can also see them in person and enjoy and try them on. So that's part of our plan. And we are just, trying to promote more on social media. We've really just started taking the first steps. So we are seeing reactions from other countries more and more, just like right now.
Yes, we will also have an interview by Haewon Koo,
magazine,
the chairwoman of Korean Culture Foundation, who will talk about the exhibition and the plans. So you can read more in the March issue of Schmuck magazine. Thank you, Jenny.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Let's continue. Who is it? I think it's Xiao Chen. There's a nice sound in the background. Hi. Let's have a short look at your great video. Okay, we have this sound in the background. Maybe it's Leo. No. Who can it be?
Maybe the other people do not hear it.
Okay. We have a sound like a washing machine. I don't know if you hear the same or it's only us.
Okay, it's a very funny video. So let's take a look at it. It's another way of looking at jewelry.
So, what's the title of this video?
this it's complicated to say the title. So it's a sample. I think just to to question the daily habits. So I think just like a sample to everyday, like that's so.
Yes, wait, let's have a look at the image that you sent us. Maybe this explains what the work is about. It's rice.
Yeah.
Probably the sticky rice that glues pretty well. So something like an accident that happens, that you leave something in the ankle of your mouth, that becomes jewelry.
It's very daring to be so how can I put it, self-reflecting with a habit which is funny, and it is, well, a little bit private. This is not something you do in public. You get the leftover and you eat it, however. So it requires some kind of courage, of opening up, of not being afraid of how other people will judge you, which is quite unusual in the jewelry world, which is more about promoting beauty, luxury, art. And you take a very funny and very captivating for the viewer. This is very captivating, and when you watch the video, you are asking yourself, what are they doing? These guys, what are they doing? But you keep watching it, and I also love the fact that you change the environment. It's the same habit, the same routine. So what is your intention behind this video, apart from showing the work?
So I think I like to show something like ambiguity and to question, and like the pins I made it with the real rice, and I want to bother the bother people and to question the social code. So I the first time I started film myself in the environment normal, but I after I want to feel free, so I want to make some the ambiguity, more ambiguity. Yeah, so I changed the environment.
And we can see you wearing at least 2 of the brooches.
Yeah.
Ah, 3.
Yeah, I have the more brooches because this my idea is not to be expensive, and I want the idea, the information to spread everywhere. So this is not one thesis. So
it's a very good strategy, because when I watched the video, I also wanted to do something like that, and it can turn into something like dance or gymnastics. I like it very much. So it was great having you with us, Xiao Chen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Of course, we will have you in July in the future.
Thank you.
Okay, let's run, because as always
we are
we're
a little bit
far out of time. I hope you still can enjoy with stiff necks and a broken back and hunger and whatever. Stay in line. It's still going to be
10 minutes.
Yeah, curious and going to be nice. We're gonna see Alma Leon. I don't know if I spell properly.
Hi, Alma.
Hi, from Israel, from Schenker College. Let's start
with a video.
With your video, which we used at the beginning and the end of the Schmuck On Reel trailer. Because I personally loved a lot the surreal approach to the way you make the video. Unfortunately, it stopped. Technically speaking, how long did it take you to make this video? Because it looks, with all the details, it looks like a work over time.
Yeah, so we had only 1 month or 1.5, so it wasn't a lot of time, but I worked like really hard and tried to make it work. So it was.
Yeah, I like this assembling of very different atmospheres and different actions taking place, which are totally paradox. Did you have any inspiration by movies or something you thought about, or was it just coming out of the experience of creating scenes and putting them together?
I think it was both, but mostly I think it was to celebrate not only the object I created, but the ideas behind them. So it was like the background and the sets become one with the jewelry itself. So I think that was the main thing I tried to work with.
And the television as an object is also present in the beginning, in the end, in the middle. Is it something that, how can I say, we always look into the medium, but we don't see the object around it. Did you think about this, being in the medium or dealing with a medium in a way that what we experience now is something we have to find we have to be intrigued by?
Yes, I think it was interesting to me to try and break the wall between the viewer and the film, and I think I tried to find something that will combine all the worlds together. So the video creates like a parallel virtual universes that are bizarre and absurd, and it was like a tool that I could use to bring it all together, I think.
And there is another layer on top of it with the televisions where you have to move in to be there.
The collection of the TV sets is also amazing. So the choice of the TV sets is a statement of art from various types and various eras.
We are tempted to forget about your work because the video is so strong, but luckily you have sent us this work.
Sea salt and acrylic paint. So yes. Sea salt indeed you use salt.
Yes, it's a salt actually. It's a salt. I think the main inspiration in the jewelry is the pollution of the sea and the effect of the tar on the sea. And I think overall in my work, like the best words to describe it are here and now, and I try to find quick and intuitive ways to react to things that happen in the world, because I think that our responsibility as artists and as designers is to say something and to take a stand. So to me, it's like a very important thing in my work, I think.
Mm-hmm. And it's also important for the public, and certainly in Germany, the environmental consciousness is very high. And it is another question, a very, very big theme and question on whether jewelry artists who have been the first to set very high standards about environmental pollution through the way they work with materials and with chemicals, etc. They've managed to make the public alert, and in Germany there is a public who has already everything. So it's not about accumulating more beautiful things and wealth or valuable things. It's more about making statements about the future of how we want to live, how should we live, and I think such works are very welcome. As a reminder that art cares, that art is not outside of this society, of these conflicts, of these issues.
No. Well, and right now we are between utopia or the need of a better world in the sense of environmental pollution and whatever. And we see in the war that's happening, everything is turned over and maybe reversed. And we have to find the pieces to stay on thinking in the direction that we can find solutions.
Thank you very much, Alma.
Thank you
for being here.
Next is Eva Geldof. I saw her. Here she is.
I'm here.
Hi, Eva.
Hi.
Not from Israel, but from Belgium.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right? Yes.
With a very
I'm from Belgium.
Very interesting project and a very interesting material. Would you like, maybe we should see the film first, the video first, or the...
Let's have this one
first. Okay. What is this piece? Is it a textile or is it jewelry? How would you describe this craft hybrid?
Yeah, I think I would describe it more as textile and sort of body arts. Maybe I should explain what the material is.
Yes.
So I've always been very inspired by the body, but in jewelry it's always, it's the outside and how we present ourselves. So I actually wanted to turn that around and make the inside of our bodies the subjects. And so I started working with, I wanted to find a good material to, show this. And I started working in very thin latex, fluid latex, and you can make your own textiles. And I started working with, pigments, and that's how I started working. And I made different fabrics, and here you can see one of them. It was trying to make the inside of the body more like approachable and touchable. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I present them as sort of clothing fabrics.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you can read if you go a little closer. The title of this work or series is Please Do Touch.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So it's mainly about the feeling, mm-hmm. as you mentioned, to turn the inside out.
Yeah, and being more aware of what is happening inside our bodies. Like it's kind of meditative for me also, if that's a word. I don't know.
Huh?
Because there's so much happening inside of our bodies, but we don't see it. And I think that's interesting to think about.
Yeah. Let's have a look at your video. Okay. It starts with the idea of a frozen lobster, which then comes alive.
I don't know. Not. It's more about like just keeping the body fresh, and I'm wrapping my body in in the latex to preserve myself, actually, because there's so much pressure on staying young and beautiful right now. So it's more working around that theme.
Well, it looked to me at the beginning when I first saw the video that you are a mermaid. You are presenting a mermaid.
Yeah.
Which is
I didn't think about that, but until you said it, it's true.
A symbol of eternal youth. Somebody who is immortal, lives, is untouchable. However, she is a mythological creature. She's out of reach because she's a queen of the oceans. So you may admire her, and she's immortal, but she is out of touch. The opposite of what your then mermaid skin is offering. So it's another interpretation,
but that's nice because it's still it works. That I like that about the medium of the video also, like you can create something new, and people have different interpretations of it.
And you created the latex by yourself. These are handmade long stretches of latex. Yeah. Thank you, Eva.
Thank you.
Oof, we have to go the last steps towards the
end.
The end is coming closer.
Your patience. Do we have more?
I'm looking for Akinoam Sina.
Yes.
Akinoam had to leave, unfortunately. We're sorry.
But maybe we can watch.
Yes, maybe we can watch the video if there is anything to comment on. Where is it? Here we go. Very nice. It's about objects that move on its own, so they have the integrated function already to be filmed, so to say. I like a lot, especially the last object, that it reminds on on these musical object.
Yes. How's it called? Like a music box. Like a music box. Yeah.
Well, it has a, how do you say, it's like a sketch. At the same time, it allows a lot of freedom to think how these objects can be used. We have some more videos, but I would say we focus on all of the participants who are present.
Yes. Who is maybe somebody is present and we can see her or him. Who is for the videos left?
Anyone of the participants who hasn't shown the video? I don't think so. So to
maybe we should show then to close the, I would say we change the schedule, and we ask for your questions. If you have any questions, we can answer 1 or 2 questions, and then close with the videos from Metamorphosis, with the trailer, which is also a very nice. No?
No, from
Why?
our impressions of the last.
The participants, the video.
Yeah, we'll close with that, but before we're gonna wake you up with a short review or a look back in the last 7 years of Munich, our personal experience. That's a short slideshow. And then we'll come to the end.
Okay, and then we'll show the trailer of the Metamorphosis.
We'll slide out with a trailer of the
we should
festival.
add that the Metamorphosis participants will also show their work in the Schmuck On Reel festival. So it is it's a nice culmination of 2 projects coming into one. Then show the pictures, or maybe any questions. Do you have any questions
first? Questions, comments,
too tired,
complaints,
too much videos, too overworked, over videoed. Oh, Leo.
You have to unmute your micro. Yeah.
Okay. Now maybe
Oh.
now.
Yes.
Sorry. I was following the introduction. I thought, I think it's really interesting, and it's really this is a sneak peek of all these participants. Very interesting. So it's really pushing me to see more in July.
Yes.
I was really excited. I think many of the, or almost all of them, somehow, one way or another, they were really interesting. So I congratulate you. It's in all the participants, of course, in the videos and the projects, because it's not easy to do this, what you are been doing today, I know. And it's not easy for them to introduce the work and express. So I think it was really going, I mean, I'm still here, you know, checking, and I'm eager, and the idea is I'm eager to see more. This is what I wanted to.
We too, of course.
This is also the meaning of the preview, to make people curious for the real show, for the real festival.
And I think it's a nice format. And then in July, we will see the videos, but also the works, if we go to Munich, or how is this?
The videos and some live performances in the gallery. And we are also thinking of possibilities to have some kind of presentation of the jewelry, at least online. So the idea is that if somebody likes the video and the works, that could have the option at least to contact the artist and get information or even purchase the object.
Yeah.
To make also the video festival is one of the goals is also to facilitate the contact between an eventual buyer or a gallerist to the artist.
No.
Okay.
We also hope that we can expand the festival to Munich institutions. We'll see what we can do in the meanwhile. And these months we have ahead of us, they allow us to get in touch with the people there.
Okay. But then you can't. Sorry.
Leo, thank you.
Thank you so much.
But you can't with us to publish anything. Okay.
We do definitely.
Yes, we will be.
Videos, whatever. We stay in touch.
Yes, yes, of course.
Stay in
Thank
line.
you.
Stay in line because you're gonna see some nice.
Some more.
I don't know. I will stay now.
Katja?
Hi, everyone. Such an interesting project. I have a question. For somebody who was only just thinking about maybe submitting something, but as a lot of the participants have attested to, making videos takes time and is a lot of work. So my question is, do you kind of accept proposals of an idea to be made? And if you're not interested, then I wouldn't have spent a lot of time on it, is what I'm saying. So proposals, what I mean by proposal is that, that would include maybe some like a short or some kind of idea that is already kind of visualized, but not the finished product.
We have the different options that we accompany you as an artist, if you like this, developing your concept to a video. Otherwise, of course, we can talk a lot about the concept, but basically it's about the video. And we accept anything that is possible. So we don't have any rules to say we exclude this or that. We have to be convinced of the product. It has to be something. And then we can also comment on it and say, maybe you can make it a little bit shorter or this or that. But we don't change, we don't interfere with the concept of the idea.
Unless you want to have a workshop in script writing or in technical issues, and then we can have either a group lesson or a private lesson. We encourage people to try on their own to realize their idea. So we would say, of course, you can contact us, send us your idea, and we can tell you, yeah, go on, do it. Yes. This is probably what we are going to read. Do it.
We can already say it now. Do it.
Yes. If you ask if it's, let's say, like a first draft in video, if it's easier for you to make a first draft, a scene, not a full video, but just to give us the idea of the aesthetics and of just do a very short, and you have time till July to complete it. Yeah.
All right. Now we should also ask Serjan, who was so patient to stay online with us the whole meeting. This is great. We didn't have the chance to talk before. We know that you are from Kazakhstan. Yeah. Is that right?
Hi.
Hi, Serjan.
Sorry, my language not is good.
It's okay. You are teaching jewelry at university.
Yeah, I teacher in university, jeweler, metal art, and the sculptor. Yeah.
Do you teach traditional jewelry or contemporary or both?
In university traditional, I like it contemporary, and small teach contemporary.
Are there many students in Kazakhstan working in this field?
My university not more student in one course 3-4 student, on the university maybe 10-12 student jewelry art.
Is it for the country? Is it jewelry important for the image of the country? Does Kazakhstan participate or organizes export, jewelry export, or taking part in?
Yeah, in Kazakhstan exhibition, not maybe good this only fair, only not good. Sorry.
May I add something, Serjan?
Yes, please, Martina.
Yeah.
Serjan, you're doing this wonderful Shaver Festival, and jewelry is a part of it. And this is a real big event every year taking place in Kazakhstan. As a competition for all arts and crafts, traditional and contemporary. And there is a real big number of jewelers who are doing excellent work and get awarded. And Serjan is a very big part of that. And there is, Kazakhstan is a huge country with very different jewelry traditions, and it makes a big difference whether you come from the more east towards Mongolia. I think this is Serjan's area, which is more influenced by the old shamanistic way of, or not shamanistic only, it's Scythian, the Scythian tradition. And more to the west, towards Turkey, you have other influences and other jewelry traditions. And within these two poles, I really met, when I was working in Kazakhstan with Serjan, wonderful artists and jewelers there. Sorry, Serjan, I just wanted that you highlight your country.
Oh yes, we would be very interested in presenting, knowing that the problems, the obstacles, the linguistic obstacles, we can overcome them because art is an international language. We would like to present your work and your students' work in our magazine. So we would like to be in touch with you, to contact you and have this presentation. We find it fascinating. Scythian gold, you may see amazing masterpieces in the Altes Museum in Berlin, the Archaeological Museum of Berlin. It's an ancient culture, very fine with gold jewelry. As you put it, Martina, shamanistic and beyond shamanism. And it's this part of the world which unfortunately right now is on focus of the international, these cultural traditions and focus of this horrible conflict. So we would like to give a podium to Serjan to show us your work and talk to us about the festival you organize.
And if you like the idea to develop a video for July, we also would like to invite you, anything that comes into your mind, documentation, a experimental movie, whatever you like, about your work, about your students, and we'll send you some more information and details that's needed.
In Kazakhstan, maybe not experiment video, in only photo, maybe. No. I like.
You can film it with a smartphone camera. So there is no no restriction or no limit, whatever
Yeah.
you like.
Yeah, I experiment. I try. Sorry, I prova. I am prova jeweler. Yeah.
Okay, very nice.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you for joining the meeting. Now we'll have this short, it's basically a slideshow, but we made it a video.
Okay. And then we will close with videos of the metamorphosis participants. And we are very happy for your passions and for your presence. Just show.
So that was 7 or 8 years of Munich.
Of our experiences in Munich with various projects. We come from the north, let's say, culturally. We have both studied in Berlin, so we are more Prussian in spirit, and for us,
at least
yeah, okay, you come from South Germany, but we lived in Berlin. The contact to the Bavarian culture was a very big surprise. It's very different. Bavaria is something very different from the rest of Germany. Joyful, interesting, abundant, warm, very warm people. We made friends and we enjoy very much being there every year. And we are looking forward to July, and we are looking forward to meeting you in person. So thank you for being with us, and see you soon. Contact, write, email, and we'll be in touch until July.
For anybody, we're gonna share the 2 links if you want to copy them. I think most of you will have it. For the Schmuck On Reel and our exhibition in Munich, and we say goodbye with the trailer of Schmuck On Reel. And
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining the meeting.
For all this interesting insight and great work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.